Alexa, set the timer for 14 minutes. So you said you've been taking a lot of kids kind of that have severe trauma history.
Yeah, I feel like it's just... I don't know how this always happens, but, like, we get one that's, like, they have, like, a severe abuse history, and then somehow, like, we'll cycle out the other kids, and then we end up with, like, 5 of them with similar histories, and it's a lot to handle, especially when you're not used to it. So this particular staff, like, he's only been with us for, like, 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
And he broke down again, and it's just, like, I went to my boss's office for second or third time now. I don't know. I was just like, it needs to be a mandated part of our training to know how to deal with kids in crisis, and to not just, like, when it comes to their behavioral aspects, but, like, emotional too. Like, when a kid's, like, telling you, like, oh, well, I was abused in this way this time, and this is how it's bothering me. Like, there's no training for how to deal with that at my job, and I think that's insane.
And so when you talked to your boss, what did that he or she say about it?
She said that they've been working on revamping the whole training process, and they like feedback from us. I was like, yeah, but I've been giving you the same feedback for the last year, and I've seen absolutely none of the trainings that I've requested. So what is the point in me being one of your shift supervisors and you asking for my feedback and me giving it if nothing happens with it?
And how did you guys end the conversation?
I told her that I requested again that we have somebody that we can, like, call, or someone that can come in and process with the staff after they deal with something like that, because it's like, you process with the kids, you process with your clinicians, but you don't process with your staff, and we're on the floor with your kids 24 hours a day, and you're with them like 8. So they said that they were going to look into getting a clinician from emergency services that can be on call or be able to come over and talk with staff if needed. And I told them that that's not enough.
Okay, so you said you went there like a bat out of hell. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I had...
What does that mean?
So the night before, I had called our administrator on call and, like, explained the situation to her, and I was frustrated with it, and I got absolutely nothing from this person, and it's the same every time they're on call. Like, I call you, the point of administrator on call is I don't have the answers. I'm not entirely sure what to do with the situation, so I need you to tell me what is the next steps. You're giving me nothing. So I was annoyed. So then I get a call the next day from my boss asking why nothing was done. And I was like, well, that's exactly what AOC told me to do. Nothing. Let the situation roll by, and they'll deal with it in the morning.
So it was a situation with this person, or a kid?
No, it was I guess in relation, like, he had tried to talk to the kid. Like, the kid requested to talk to him. He talked to the kid. My staff's upset. My kid's also upset.
So you're...
So
okay.
I'm trying to deal with both situations, but I can't because we only have 3 people on the floor, and now we're out of ratio with the rest of the kids because I have 2 staff away, myself and this individual staff, with 1 staff with 8 of the kids.
Right.
So I called AOC and I was like, I can't get anybody from emergency services to come over and talk with this kid because he's like... I personally think that he was having flashbacks to the abuse.
Okay.
And I was like, I can't get anybody to come over and talk to this kid. He tried talking with staff. That just made the situation worse. What do you want me to do about it? AOC literally told me, oh, well, just let the kid take some space in his room. He'll calm down eventually and go to bed. Cool. So that's what we're doing with kids who are struggling with their PTSD symptoms. So I was pissed off about that. And then I have the staff who's upset, and I'm the only person that they can talk to. But then I have my other staff who's upset because they're the one with the 8 of the kids. And I was just like, I need you to come in. They said, send everybody to bed. We'll deal with it in the morning. It was 9 o'clock, and I have kids whose bedtimes aren't until 10. So I was beyond pissed off. So I eventually was just like, hey, I need you to take the rest of the kids, go to the TV room, to my other staff, and I had the other kid in their bedroom, and then I was in the hall processing with my staff. And it's just like, I was pissed off. So then my boss comes in and meets with the kid the next day, and she's livid. Because the kid basically told her, I needed you guys last night, and you did nothing for me. So she called me. I'm not on the clock. I'm at home. I'm, like, dealing with my actual life outside of work. And you're calling me pissed off because I did exactly what I was told to do by the administrator on call.
And then how did you guys end the conversation?
She told me, so when she called me, I explained the situation to her. She was like, we'll talk about this when I get into work. When you get into work. So I went into work and we talked about it, and she was like, all right, like, yeah, that's not your fault. Like, you did what you were told to do. She was like, but in situations like that, when you don't agree with what the administrator on call is doing, you call me. And I was like, but you're not on call, so why am I calling you when the whole point of an administrator on call is that we have a designated person that we go to for problems when administrative staff aren't here. So why am I calling them, then calling you? Like, the whole, I should only really need to call this one person. So the problem isn't that we're disagreeing on how to deal with the situation, is this person is not doing their job. So that you should be talking to them on how to deal with this rather than talking to me about why didn't I call you. So it was a shit show. And then after that, I was so annoyed, like, that I just...
So, but how did you end things with your supervisor? How would she feel? Do you think she feels... What would your supervisor say?
Like, we talked about it a little bit afterwards. Like, she's like, I can tell you're getting a little bit agitated right now, so, like, and I'm getting agitated, so I think we need to, like, take a break from this conversation and readdress it. And she, like, came back and, like, she apologized. She's like, I came at you the wrong way. Like, I was taking my frustrations with the situation out on you, because, like, it was a pretty aggressive conversation, and I pride myself in being professional.
So when you say it was pretty aggressive, like
she was visibly pissed off at me.
That she didn't feel that you handled the situation correctly?
Yeah, she was mad that I didn't call her, and it's like, I did my job. I called the AOC phone like I'm supposed to, because they're the one that's in the clock. I've been told before by you not to call you because you're not on call.
Right.
So I called this person like I was supposed to, and now you're mad at me for not calling you after telling me not to call you before. Like, it's... Right. You're giving me whiplash with the different directions you're throwing me into.
Right.
Like, and she, like, apologized, and she was like, she basically said that, like, she's working on not taking things personally and that she's struggling. It's just a lack of professionalism. Really.
Right. And she's always like that.
Yeah. I don't even know. Like, it's unnecessary added stress, because it's like, I'm trying to do my job and do it well, but you guys are making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Right. But so do you think that, there's going to be I guess if you talk to anybody, whether they're in business or, and then it's starting me crazy. There's not many people that are happy with the way their work situation works. So whether it's and then you multiply that by nonprofit, and I think the dysfunction goes up exponentially. So how do you want to kind of, the old saying, the only thing you can change is the way you handle the situation.
I think I've done, like, a pretty good, like, I don't know, I think that I'm doing the best that I can with the hand I've been dealt, I guess. Like, I pride myself on being professional, I pride myself on doing my job and doing it well. Like, it's important to get along with the people you work with, specifically your boss, because it's like, that's the person that you need to turn to when things don't go right, or like, they're the person who's in charge of your employment. So, like, I don't...
Let me ask you a completely crazy question. What if you just took a job that had nothing, was out of the field while you made the same money and was out of the field and just was low stress, and you did your internship and then re-entered the field when you had your...
I feel like that's not beneficial to me. Like, I took this job as opposed to my job working for South Coast, because it was more hands-on. I got to see more of the field I plan on going into. I got to see more of the agency I've been interested in for a couple of years now. I get to like be a part of a treatment team and see how they function in this agency and everything. And that aspect is still very present and very beneficial to me. It's just a matter of dealing with the extra added bullshit from my
But what if you
supervisors
didn't,
and-
you don't think there's some benefit to not having all that bullshit and just focusing on the rest of your schoolwork, your internship, which keeps you in the field, which you see the level of, there's so many jobs because
Yeah.
there's so much turnover that, I'm just saying, I don't know, say you worked at Dunkin' Donuts and worked your
I
40
think that-
hours and didn't have to, you know,
I've thought about that. I really have. Like, I talked about it with the clinician that recently left that I'm close with, and she was explaining to me how she worked like nights as a waitress and stuff like that to
Right.
get through grad school so that she had more hours at her internship. But like, there's so much benefit to, or at least I think that there's so much benefit to working this job while working my internship that I don't want one or two people to ruin for me. Like, even with my practicum class and everything, like, when I had questions about referral plans and stuff like that, like, there are people at my job I can turn to that can, like, point me in the right direction. Like, when I have questions about, like, counseling and being a therapist and stuff like that, there are people at my job that I can turn to. Like, there's so much that my job has to offer me in terms of, like, my future and where I want to go with it that I don't think it's reasonable to throw that away for two people who are making it harder.
so when you say the two people, so your boss, who else is making it harder?
This specific person who does on call, because the clinicians and if we, like, now that we're short a clinician, one of the emergency services clinicians is our administrator on call, which I think is stupid because they don't know how our units run, and you can't give me any useful advice unless it's on how to deal with a client in crisis, really. But so the two clinicians, my boss, the assistant director, and the staff supervisor, they're all AOC. So one specific person is just useless when they're on call. Like, they never give any useful or helpful information. It's kind of just figure it out on your own sort of thing. And that makes it hard because, like, I work 3 to 11, so I use AOC more than first shift does because AOC's on the floor for first shift. Second shift, you're the only ones there. So I have to call AOC for specific situations, like we have to notify them when there's a restraint, or we have to notify them when parents don't bring the kids back from passes. Like, when there are, like, major incidences that occur on you, we have to call them and stuff like that. Or when we technically can't make the decision ourselves, we have to call them and ask them to make the decision. So it's like I deal with this person 2-3 times a week when they're on call, and you're not helping my situation because I have to answer for the decisions you make the next day when I come to work. Like, my boss is asking me why was this done every time you're on call, and it's like, if we could just acknowledge the pattern here that it's only this person that I have problems with and not anybody else, like, that would be great. And I've pointed it out before, and they're just like, oh, well, maybe you guys just don't work well together. No, we get along just fine. It's just when they're on call, they give me no useful information.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So how does that make you feel?
It's frustrating because it's like, you trusted me to be a supervisor on the floor when you guys aren't there, but you're not trusting my decision-making process. Like, why am I a lead if you don't trust my decision-making?
Alexa, turn off the time.